Hello, early birds. We'll start in about 40 seconds. Again, let's hope that the Facebook gods are cooperative. Good evening, everyone. This is the Tibet Center, and it's 7 o'clock here in the northeast of the United States. The Tibet Center is also called Kunchab Tarduling, or Tibetan name, a Buddhist meditation and study center located in northern New Jersey and New York City. I'll get it right. I need another glass of water. Hold on. Okay. All the prayers we say are on the website. If you have any problem with the picture or sound, please text me or Mr. Smith immediately. If you have anyone for whom you wish to pray for, want us to pray for also, who has recently died, put their names in the chat box as soon as possible. Tonight, as has been advertised, we will say the 10th chapter of Shantadeva's book, as a cause for the good, quick rebirth of our sister Ling Chan, who passed away last Saturday night. So that's our agenda. We'll have that, and we'll also do introductory material on emptiness from His Holiness Dalai Lama, and also the 11th chapter, the inside section of the Lamrim Chenmo. So we'll start. Prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living here, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas, called profound illumination, and at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, "How should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge?" And Avalokiteshvara answered, "Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for there is no deception in transcendent knowledge. The mantra is proclaimed, Tayata Om Gate Gate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, mahasattva, should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the bodhisattva, mahasattva, Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound, transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. Refuge and Bodhisattva vow, which we recite 3 times. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge, to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind for full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. May all the pains of living creatures ripen solely upon myself, and through the might of the Bodhisattva Sangha, may all beings experience happiness. May the teachings which are the sole medicine for suffering and the origin of every joy be materially supported and honored and abide for a very long time. I prostrate to Manjagosha, through whose kindness wholesome minds ensue, and I prostrate to my spiritual masters, through whose kindness I develop. And now, as usual, as a cause for the swift return of Rato Chungla Rinpoche, His Holiness has composed this prayer, a prayer for the swift return. It's on our website, and I hope I'm reaching everyone. I see there are some people responding now. Okay, good. So we are online. You never know with Facebook. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a dropped soul refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes, Guru Lozang Tubuang Dorje Chang, please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the Victor Lozang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening, yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you, till cyclic existence's end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel. Return as the glory of Lozang Tenpe. Magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala Karma Yaman Srimata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight face. So, as a tribute to our sister Ling Chan, who has done a lot to keep our center going. There were very hard times, and she was the difference between us not being around. So we cannot thank her enough. We're going to recite the 10th chapter, the dedication chapter of Shantadeva's Bodhisattva Karivatara, Way of the Bodhisattva, whatever. You could take this now as a meditation. This is what Shantideva would do. He would generate his compassionate mind and then use his mind's camera, mental camera, and survey all of existence. and wish this one's relieved of suffering, that one's relieved of suffering. All the things that came into his view throughout the world and different worlds, the hell beings. We can do the same as a motivation. Look at all the people we see and wish people in this situation free of suffering, that situation. And if you have a good imagination, the God realms, the hell realms, etc. But that's what he's doing. And thinking that way, you can meditate this way, and you get a lot of use out of this chapter. It's 58 verses long. It doesn't take too long. Very moving. So, through the virtue of having, this is the start of it, through the virtue of having composed this work, a guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, may all living beings come to engage in the Bodhisattva's conduct. May all beings everywhere, plagued with sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. For as long as they remain in cyclic existence, may their mundane happiness never decline, and may all of them uninterruptedly receive waves of joy from bodhisattvas. May all embodied creatures who throughout the universe experience hellish realms come to enjoy the bliss of Sukhavati. May those feeble with cold find warmth, and may those oppressed with heat be cooled by the boundless waters that pour forth from the great clouds of the Bodhisattva's merits. May the forest of razor-sharp leaves become a beautiful pleasure grove, and may the trees of knives and swords grow into wish-fulfilling trees. May the regions of hell become places of joy, with vast and fragrant lotus pools beautified with the exquisite calls of wild ducks, geese, and swans. May the heaps of burning coals change into heaps of jewels, and may the burning ground become a polished crystal floor, and may the mountains of the crushing hells become celestial palaces of worship filled with sagatas. May the rains of lava, blazing stones, and weapons from now on become a rain of flowers, and may all battling with weapons from now on be a playful exchange of flowers. By the force of my virtues, may those caught in the fiery torrents of acid, their flesh eaten away, revealing their lily-white bones, obtain the bodies of celestials, and dwell with goddesses in gently flowing rivers. Why are the henchmen of Yama, the Lord of Death, the unbearable buzzards and vultures afraid? Through whose strength is joy brought upon us, and darkness dispelled? Looking up, they behold in the firmament the radiant form of Vajrapani. Through the force of their joy, may they be free from wrongdoing and find his company. When they see the lava fires of hell extinguished by a rain of falling flowers mixed with scented water, immediately satisfied, they wonder whose work this was. In this way, may those in hell behold Padmapani. Friends, don't be afraid, but quickly gather here. What need is there to flee when above us is the youthful Manjagosha to dispel our fears, the tender bodhisattvas who protects all things, through whose might all suffering is removed and the force of joy abounds. Behold him in an enchanting palace, resounding with the hymns sung by 1,000 goddesses, with the tiaras of 100 gods being offered to his lotus feet, and may a rain of many flowers falling on his head, the eyes of which are moist with kindness. Upon seeing Manjagosha in this way, may those in hell cry out loud with joy. Likewise, having seen, due to the roots of my wholesome deeds, the cool and sweet-smelling rain falling from the joyful clouds created by the bodhisattvas Samantabhadra and Sarvanivarana Veskambini, may all beings in hell be truly happy. May all animals be free from the fear of being eaten by one another. May the hungry ghosts be as happy as the people of the northern continent. May they be satisfied by a stream of milk pouring from the hand of the noble Lord Avalokiteshvara, and by bathing in it, may they always be cooled. May the blind see forms, may the deaf hear sounds, and just as it was with Maya Devi, may pregnant women give birth without any pain. Maya Devi is Buddha's mother. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food, may the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy, may the forlorn find new hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their illness, and may every disease in the world never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting one another. May all travelers find happiness everywhere they go, and without any effort may they accomplish whatever they set out to do. May those who sail in ships and boats obtain whatever they wish for, and having safely returned to the shore, may they joyfully reunite with their relatives. May troubled wanderers who have lost their way meet with fellow travelers, and without any fear of thieves or tigers. May their going be easy without any fatigue. May those who find themselves in trackless, fearful wildernesses, the children, the aged, the unprotected, those stupefied and the insane, be guarded by beneficent celestials. May beings be free from all states of no leisure, and be endowed with faith, wisdom, and kindness, with food obtained in a proper manner and excellent conduct. May they be mindful throughout their lives. May all beings be without want for wealth, just like the treasury of space, and without it being the source of dispute or harm. May they always enjoy it as they wish. May those who have little splendor come to be endowed with majesty, and may those whose bodies are worn with toil find magnificent and noble forms. May all lower life forms in the universe take rebirth in higher forms. May the lowly obtain grandeur, and may the proud be humbled. By the merits I have accumulated, may every single being abandon all forms of wrongdoing and perpetually engage in virtue. May they never be parted from the awakening mind, and may they always engage in the Bodhisattva's conduct. May they be cared for by the Buddhas and relinquish the actions of devils. May sentient beings have lives inconceivably long when in fortunate realms. May they always live in contentment, unfamiliar with even the word death. May there abound in all directions gardens of wish-fulfilling trees, filled with the sweet sound of Dharma proclaimed by the Buddhas and their children. And may the land everywhere be pure, smooth and devoid of any rocks, level like the palm of the hand, and of the nature of lapis lazuli. For all the circles of disciples, may many bodhisattvas dwell in every land, adorning them with their excellent manifestations. May all embodied creatures uninterruptedly hear the sound of Dharma issuing from birds and trees, beams of light, and even space itself. May they always meet with Buddhas and their children, the bodhisattvas, and may these spiritual masters of the world be worshipped with endless clouds of offerings. May celestials bring timely rains so that harvests may be bountiful. May kings act in accordance with Dharma, and the people of the world always prosper. May all medicines be effective, and the repeating of mantras successful. May dakinis, cannibals, and the like be endowed with compassionate minds. May no living creature ever suffer, commit wrong, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, or their minds ever be depressed. In all temples and monasteries may reading and recitation flourish and remain. May the Sangha always be in harmony, and may their purposes be accomplished. May monks desiring to practice find quiet and solitary places, and through having abandoned all wandering thoughts, may they meditate with flexible minds. May nuns be materially sufficient, abandon quarreling with each other, and be unharmed. Similarly, may all ordained ones never let their morality weaken. Having repented any moral faults, may transgression always be eradicated, and thereby obtaining a happy state of birth, may spiritual conduct not decline even there. May the wise be honored. May they receive alms. May their minds be completely pure, and may they be renowned in all directions. May beings not experience the misery of lower realms, and may they never know any hardships. With a physical form superior to the gods, may they swiftly attain Buddhahood. May sentient beings again and again make offerings to all the Buddhas, and may they constantly be joyful with the inconceivable bliss of the Buddhas. Just as they intended, may the Bodhisattvas fulfill the welfare of the world, and may all sentient beings receive whatever the Buddhas have intended for them. Similarly, may the Pratyeka Buddhas and the Shravakas find happiness. And until I reach the level of the Joyous One, through the kindness of Manjughosha, may I be mindful throughout my lives and always obtain ordination. May I live and be sustained by simple, common foods, and in all my lives may I find the ideal solitude for practicing Dharma. Whenever I wish to see something or even wish to ask the slightest question, may I behold without any hindrance the Lord Manjughosha himself. In order to fulfill the needs of beings who reach unto the ends of space, may my way of life be just like that of Manjughosha. For as long as space endures, for as long as living beings remain, until then may I too abide and to dispel the misery of the world. May all the pains of living creatures ripen solely upon myself, and through the might of the Bodhisattva Sangha, may all beings experience happiness. May the teachings which are the sole medicine for suffering and the origin of every joy be materially supported and honored and abide for a very long time. I prostrate to Manjughosha through whose kindness wholesome minds ensue, and I prostrate to my spiritual masters through whose kindness I develop. That concludes the recitation. This is what is known as a wishing prayer. Just thinking this way on your own, faking it if you have to, who has these abilities, puts good imprints on your mind. Doesn't cost you anything, makes you feel better, and that's it. You're done. You did your best. So, thank you very much for your life, Ling. We'll never forget you. Till we become Buddhists, then we'll really remember. Anyway, let's see what time we have here so we can parcel our time. Oh, good, we have time. Are we still going out? Yes, people are coming. Okay, good. The version that we used was Stephen Batchelor's translation, but the translations are different. There's hundreds of them. There's an Oxford translation, the Padmakara group. They're all good. It's the idea. And you could put your own ideas in there. Some of it in this particular recitation is a little culture bound. Lions and tigers. We don't have to worry about tigers now anymore. They're poor things. They're almost extinct. And ships and boats. Maybe we could substitute those who wait in airports endlessly. Things like that. But wherever he saw suffering, he once scoped out the whole world and wished that he could be able to relieve it, and it would happen that way. We think that way. Okay, His Holiness's advice now. This is very careful. This is very important, and we should carefully listen. These are tools we need to study the Lam properly. Specifically, the chapter that we're on now. It's giving you a basic overview of what emptiness really means. The chapter is chapter 8. This is volume 7 of the Library of Wisdom and Compassion. It will be 10 volumes. 8 are already out. This is called Searching for the Self. So that has a specific meaning. What is the heart identity that we really have? And do we really know what it is? Obviously we don't. We misunderstand it. So that's what this is all about. This is chapter 8 where he's talking about objects of negation. Yes, what do we get rid of so that we could operate and become Buddhists? So, what page is it? They never have the page on the title. I hate that. Yeah. Page 161 of volume 7 of the Wisdom Compassion. This is Holiness and edited by the Venerable Tipton Children. You can leave it there, but it's not him. He'll play with it. We have to make sure the cat is entertained so he doesn't run across the screen. Correctly identifying the object of negation. So what is it you're going to get rid of? The false mode of existence that ignorance grasps as real is the most important step when meditating on emptiness. So let's define the ground rules. That's what we're doing now. And we're going to sit there and meditate on emptiness. Because the Lam text itself so it can get a little stiff. Here it is nicely arranged so that we could set our minds up nicely. If we do not properly identify the object of negation, what we're getting rid of, we may meditate on selflessness and think we have realized emptiness, but in fact we may have understood only the lack of a, quote, self-sufficient, substantially existent person, not the full emptiness of the person. There are different versions of what emptiness is, and everyone is, oh, that's it. They can conclude this is that. That's why there are 4 ascending schools. But let's leave that aside for now. Alternatively, we may have had an experience of vacuity. There's no thought. Clear vacuity, I don't see anything. And mistake this for the emptiness of inherent existence. It's a little more specific here. It is wise to banish all romantic ideas that the ultimate nature of all phenomena will automatically appear to you in a flash as an amazing experience that will instantly free you from dukkha forever. That's not going to happen. Hollywood, listen, it doesn't happen that way. Instead, let's deepen our understanding of ignorance and what it is and what it grasps as true so that our meditation on emptiness will bear fruit. Let's get rid of those Hollywood ideas, those glorious ideas, because that's the easy way. Yeah, I'll just sit there, quiet, and then that's it. No, it's not going to go away by itself. That's the gist of all this study. Samsara doesn't go away by itself. You got to do something about it. You got to be proactive. Okay, so now he has this division of objects negated by the path and objects negated by reasoning. What is the path? Your behavior. And then reasoning is your mental acuity. So objects of negation are of 2 types. Those negated by the path and those negated by reasoning. Negated has different meanings in these two phrases, in the different contexts. Regarding objects negated by the path, what does that mean? Negated means abandoned or eradicated. You get rid of them, or you don't indulge in those activities anymore. You don't indulge in the 10 non-virtues, etc. But when speaking of objects negated by reasoning, negated means disproved or refuted. So two things: those you abandon and vanish, and those disproved or refuted. You'll see why this is used. Objects negated by the path are mental obscurations, anger, etc., which can be subsumed in the afflictive obscurations and cognitive obscurations. There's degree. Afflictive obscurations, the gross obscurations or gross afflictions, primarily interfere with attaining liberation. You get rid of them and you got out of samsara. You're not a Buddha, but you got out of samsara. And cognitive, which they're calling cognitive obscurations, primarily hinder attaining the omniscience of a Buddha. Yes, that's the finding. Now you've got out of samsara, first level bodhisattva, second, third, fourth. You're getting rid of more of the mental imprints brought about by constantly seeing inherent existence. That's what it basically is. Those cognitive obscurations block omniscience. They don't keep you in samsara, but they block omniscience. He continues. The objects negated by the path are existent phenomena. These things really exist. Your anger, your this or that. You don't think it exists? Wait a few minutes. Jealousy, all these things, they're existent. If they weren't, sentient beings wouldn't have to work to eliminate them. Right. If they don't exist, what are you eliminating for? Objects negated by reasoning are non-existent. They're not there. That we erroneously believe exist. We think they're there, but they're not. So sorry. The chief of these is inherent existence. We think that's there, and first of all, we didn't even have an idea of inherent existence until we started reading these books. We don't know what we're immersed in. So the chief of these is inherent existence. Although the ignorance that grasps inherent existence, which is a mental factor, exists. The ignorance exists, yes. Its conceived and apprehended object, inherent existence, has never existed. It's ignorant because it thinks something exists that doesn't and never has. Never has. Whoa. Grasping inherent existence is a consciousness and is an object negated by the path, whereas its conceived object. So the ignorance part, you get rid of by the path. Study, reasoning, etc. Whereas its conceived object, inherent existence, is an object negated by reasoning. You use ordinary logic, ordinary mind to reason out, it can't possibly exist, even though I think it's there, and I think it's there, like my hand in front of my face. You think that way. When inherent existence is negated, the awareness grasping at it gradually weakens and ceases. You've suddenly convinced yourself, it's really not there. So then your habit patterns of grasping at it start to lose their power. And slowly, you get rid of them. Next paragraph. If inherent existed, then it couldn't be refuted by reasoning. We cannot prove as non-existence things that are in fact existent. Things that in fact exist, you can't prove their non-existence. Even though inherent existence does not exist at all, refuting it is essential, because to eliminate the erroneous consciousness that grasps it, we must first disprove the object that consciousness apprehends. You're looking at this thing, it's not there, guys. Well, I'm not convinced. It seems like it's there. Think logically. If it were this, no, that. There's all those arguments that we're going to wade through. So, why is self-grasping ignorance, a wrong consciousness? What's wrong with that? Why is the object it apprehends non-existent? If things existed inherently as ignorance apprehends them, when we search for what they really are, we would be able to find something. When we analyze what the name apple actually refers to, apple of fruit, not your computer, refers to, what the inherent nature or true essence of this apple really is, it should become clearer. Among the parts of the apple, the skin, the pulp, the core, we could point to something that is indeed the apple. However, instead of the apple becoming clearer to our mind when we analyze it, the apple seems to vanish. Do the mental experiment yourself. A mind experiment, whatever you want to call it. Just the apple, that the apple. Very simple. Next time you eat an apple, we'll look at one in the store and decide it's too expensive. Next paragraph. Ignorance apprehends phenomena as existent independent of all other factors. That's what ignorance thinks. Everything's in their set place, because that's the way I see it and that's the way I think about it. That's ignorance. If ignorance apprehended things correctly, then everything would exist in its own self-enclosed manner, unrelated to everything else. And think of that entailment. What does that entail? Spend a little time thinking that way. So, however, when we examine how things exist, it becomes apparent that they are dependent on their causes and conditions, on their parts, and even on the mind that conceives them and gives them a name, the designating consciousness. Something that is dependent cannot be independent. Remember? They're contradictory. If it's dependent, it eliminates independent. If it's independent, it eliminates dependent. That's it. No middle ground. So these are ways of focusing the mind in one point instead of dancing around. Wait, it's this, it's that. Start thinking that way. Focus it down. So then you could sit one-pointedly and hold those two extremes in your mind and see what's what. Thus, ignorance is a wrong consciousness. Refuting inherent existence is not like erasing writing on a whiteboard. We are not making something that exists non-existent. Instead, it is like proving that the boogeyman, a mythical creature fabricated by adults to frighten children to be good, doesn't exist. Some of the religions frighten people with things that don't exist. All right. Politicians do it too. There's this threat here. We all have to get together. Yeah, what threat? It's a big thing in life. We realize that something we believed existed has in fact never existed when we start to wake up. When we realize the boogeyman doesn't exist, we stop being afraid of him. We see that he never existed at all, and that all along our ignorance had blindsided us, and we were terrified of a monster that didn't exist. This is happening to us right now as we walk around. It's not a monster, but things we think are really a problem. It's not the way they are. Similarly, when we realize inherent existence does not exist, we gradually stop being under the control of our ignorant grasping that it does exist. That's the function of logic. You sit around with your ordinary mind, finally convince yourself, it can't. Slowly, those ideas filter down to the bottom, the subtle areas of the mind. And slowly but surely, your habit pattern of seeing everything as inherent existence starts to lose its grip. And when that happens, samsara is falling apart. Yay, as Jackie would say. Yeah. So refuting inherent existence and establishing the emptiness of inherent existence is not destroying something that exists. So refuting inherent existence and establishing the emptiness of inherent existence is not destroying something that exists. Everything has always lacked inherent existence. You, me, everything. Yeah, all our actions, yes. No one made phenomena empty of inherent existence. That has always been their ultimate nature. We're in emptiness now. Oh my God. Really? I should have dressed better. No, really. We understand this truth for the first time upon refuting inherent existence. Furthermore, realizing emptiness does not create something new that didn't exist before, such as constructing a bicycle or something. It's like removing the cataract, like mental obscuration, so that you could see clearly. So we may wonder, we may wonder, why are so many words needed to prove that a non-existent thing doesn't exist? Yeah, well, so it doesn't exist. I'm happy with that. If it exists, we cannot refute it, right? And if it does not exist, we don't need to refute it. So of what use are all these refutations and proofs? Yeah. America wants to know, right? Let's look at the example of the boogeyman again. Although the boogeyman doesn't exist, a child who believes he does trembles in fear. If we hold a child's hand and take him or her around the house to look for the boogeyman, when we can't find him anywhere, the child will understand that there is no boogeyman and his or her fear will vanish. It's not there. Where? Where's the monster under your bed? Not there. I've heard kids tell their mothers a monster under the bed. It was their father. No, but anyway. No, really. This actually happens. Those of you who are mothers probably know. The mind, as holiness goes on, the mind is very powerful and misconceptions can make us terrified when there is nothing to fear. The mind's our enemy at that point. Oh, I knew it. Ignorance has blindsided us into believing that the I and all other phenomena exist inherently, and as a result, our attachment and anger have grown out of ignorance, have caused us eons of dukkha and samsara. Dukkha, again, is the best definition, is that which is incapable of allowing total happiness. So, it's a good definition. When we refute and familiarize ourselves with the non-existence of the object of this grasping, ignorance gradually ceases. The afflictions arising from it gradually cease. You can't have afflictions if you have no ignorance. The ignorance that we think the way things are is what's fueling our anger and everything else. Bewilderment, stupidity. Go on. We can go on. Let's go. Polluted karma is no longer created, and our samsara comes to an end. I'll drink to that. Words alone do not overcome true grasping, but they can teach us how to do this. Although the words of the teaching also lack inherent existence, they can function to generate the understanding in our minds that inherent existence does not exist. Here it becomes evident that attaining liberation or awakening doesn't involve going somewhere else. It's a matter of changing our mind. Samsara is not a real estate situation. Samsara is a mental outlook. It's a mental problem. Otherwise, they'd say you should move here to get out of samsara. They don't say that. So, page 164, he goes on, last page, for this section. In addition to our innate grasping, big point, the mind is home to a plethora of acquired wrong views. The innate's really deep down. Even insects have it. Rinpoche used to say, you turn on the light, the roach runs. Sense of self, thinking he's going to be annihilated. That's innate. Nobody sat in class to learn that. Some of these wrong views are held by non-Buddhists, the acquired wrong views now, the ones philosophically acquired or acquired by education or whatever. Some are held by non-Buddhists, others by adherents of the lower Buddhist tenet systems. All of them are rooted in grasping inherent existence. For example, in asserting the existence of a permanent, unitary, independent self, non-Buddhists do not begin by apprehending the self as permanent or perceiving it as one monolithic whole. Rather, they grasp the self as existing just from its own side. By not recognizing that the inherent existence apprehended by this innate grasping does not exist, they then make up beliefs and explain how karmic seeds can go from one life to the next. The notion of a permanent self that is one partless whole and is independent of causes and conditions is one such fabricated belief. All the schools on up to Prasangika, Madhyamaka have this is the self, this is the self, this is the self. Don't denigrate them. It's a pedagogical technique, a teaching technique. The Buddha introduced people gradually because our minds are so habituated. So you chip away at it, little by little. Oh, yeah, this is the view. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. Then someone said, no, it's a little more refined than that. The next, ladders on, like a ladder, steps on a ladder. Lam Rim, stages of the path. So, proponents of the lower Buddhist tenet systems recognize the fallacies of that belief, so they instead assert that a foundation consciousness, the alaya vijnana, kunji, or the mental consciousness itself is the self, because you have to have something that carries karma. Oh yeah, so that's it. It's the mental consciousness carries the karma into the next life. Yes, but not really. Partly. It's a way of training the mind to get used to finer and finer, subtler ideas. So never knock the lower schools of Buddhism. It's the word of Buddha. It's done for a purpose. It's done to relieve suffering. So proponents of the lower Buddhist tenet systems recognize the fallacies of that belief, so they instead assert that a foundation consciousness or the mental consciousness is the self. In this way, self-grasping constantly seeks a way to make itself prevail and feel secure. The ego wants to always hold court. You can substitute ego, but technically in the psychological text, it's a wrong way to think about it. But a lot of Buddhist teachers now say the self-centered ego, the ego this, so we can go with that. That's the grasping at a wrong eye. Because our deep-seated belief in inherent existence, we cling to people and things that appear to be attractive from their own side. We have aversion to disagreeable people who appear hateful in and of themselves, not brought up by causes and conditions. No, that's it. That's their core reality. They're hateful. I don't know. Or arrogant, or about our seemingly hateful in and of themselves, are arrogant about our seemingly inborn talents and become jealous of those who have opportunities we do not. These are all misguided, caused by wrong view of people. If we were to correctly identify the grasping consciousness that is the root of all these disturbing emotions and refute its conceived object, inherent existence, all other wrong views would be gradually destroyed. That's it. One size fits all. The antidote for each individual affliction, for example, meditating on the ugly aspects of an object to counteract attachment and so on and on, fortitude to subdue anger, these are temporary fixes, temporarily overcomes or suppresses only that disturbing emotion itself and does not damage the other. It doesn't even damage that, it just suppresses it. Using these antidotes is comparable to cutting down one obtrusive branch and then another, with the new ones growing from the trunk. You never get rid of it. Realizing the emptiness of inherent existence and familiarizing ourselves, our minds with it, over time, is like uprooting a poisonous tree. Nothing more can grow from its trunk. You destroy it from the root. So that's it for tonight on this His Holiness Advice. We will follow this from time to time. We need these tools, this overview, so I don't get lost in the technicalities of the LAM Rim. A brief from my in. Let's see what time we have. Only 10 minutes. However, we'll start on page 147 of chapter 11 of the LAM Rim CHEN. We'll just go over it quickly, not get lost in some of the weeds. He just talks about what permanence and annihilation is. We don't have to go. We did that last week. Page 149, the middle of it. Nagarjuna says this. So Nagarjuna's fundamental treatise, the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, says, if you say that what arose before is now non-existent, that entails annihilation. They're defining annihilation, okay, what that is. Thus Nagarjuna says that such is a view of annihilation. Also, Tsong-kha-pa now quotes Chandrakirti to back up his points. Yogis do not, Chandrakirti's clear words, the Prasanapada, yogis do not fall to the two extremes if they know that conventional truths, which are produced only by ignorance, lack intrinsic existence, intrinsic inherent synonyms, and then know that the emptiness of those has the character of the ultimate. They think, how could something which has now become non-existent have existed then? Since they do not regard early things as having had intrinsic nature, they do not think that such later became non-existent. Yeah, if something was inherently there, it's always there, it's permanent. Then all of a sudden it doesn't exist. What? So the yogis say, we never said it was permanent. We said it merely existed. It wasn't intrinsically existent or inherent. There's no such thing. Then the reply comes back, nah, you're wrong. This is not reasonable, he said. Your supposition is that in order to have a view of annihilation, one must assert the early existence of whatever thing is annihilated later. In other words, inherent existence. Someone was there permanently, now it's annihilated. But it would observably follow that even the Lokayata proponents of materialism, these are people that say, I don't see a past life, I don't see a future life, I don't see karma producing results, I don't see it with my senses, so it doesn't exist. The purpose of life is to enjoy yourself. Have another one. Those are the Lokayatas or hedonists. A better word, hedonists, we understand that. They would not have a view of annihilation, they said, because it is not their claim that past and future lives, karma effects once existed and later not existent. They don't accept things as having existed in the first place. We're not like that. Therefore, when Nagarjuna says, if you say that what arose before now is not existent, that entails annihilation. He meant that the proponents of existence, who assert that things have an essential or intrinsic nature, will unquestionably have views of permanence or annihilation. That happens automatically when you think things are inherently existent. That's what he's saying. They are, and then all of a sudden they're not there because you do see things disappear. Oh, that's annihilation. That's wrong. It was there, but it wasn't there intrinsically. It was there temporarily, constantly in motion, and ready to move on out. Everything created falls apart. everything created by causes and conditions, is not permanent, and is itself a cause of something else. Its disintegration causes something else. That's the flow of reality you have to get used to, including ourselves, including the flow of our mental events. For if they claim that this intrinsic nature never changes, then they will have a view of impermanence. They claim that it once existed and was later destroyed, then they will have a view of annihilation. We agree with that. Madhyamikas do not accept the existence of even a particle of essential or intrinsic nature. This fact proves that they lack one type of view of annihilation, the type in which it is held that an intrinsic nature that once existed is later destroyed. It does not prove that they have eliminated all views of annihilation. In a different way, Madhyamikas also unlike those who have the other type of view of annihilation, a view in which it is held that karma and its effects do not exist. So there's two annihilation views. One is, this existed, now it doesn't. That's foolish. If it inherently existed, it can never go out of business. That's what inherent existence means. And we react to things like they're always there and never going to go out of business. And then there's another type of nihilism that says, karma doesn't exist. Cause and effect doesn't exist. Mostly people who hold the ultimate reality to be whatever filters through their senses. So what do you have a mind for, by the way? That's a problem. Is that our problem? I think, yeah. Have to get rid of it. So this is set forth at latent Chandrakirti's clear words as follows. Madhyamikas and nihilists have different theses, since those who have a view of annihilation hold that karma and its effects, as well as other worlds beyond this lifetime, do not exist, whereas Madhyamikas hold that such things lack intrinsic existence. They're there, but not the way you would posit them to be there. Yes, there are other world systems. Yes, there are intelligent beings in other worlds. The chief of the Harvard University Astronomy Department says, absolutely, countless planets in the galaxies have intelligent life such as ours. Absolutely, he said. Where's his proof? I don't know. But and he's not doesn't have a religious, a Buddhist viewpoint anyway. I don't know what his religious is. He's not Buddhist. Anyway, Madhyamikas propound that things such as karma and its effects lack intrinsic existence by reason of their being dependent arisings. Nihilists do not assert that karma and its effect are dependent arising, so they do not use dependent arising as a reason in support of their thesis. They can't. They don't believe in it. Instead, to support their claim that karma and its effects are non-existent, the reason they give is that the living beings who are here now are not seeing arriving in this life from a former one, and are not seen leaving it for a future one. Hence, there is an enormous difference between nihilists and Madhyamikas and their reasons. So, and then he quotes Chandrakirti is going to repeat the same thing. Somewhat, but we don't have time to go through every little piece. You should read these on your own. Take your time. It is a little thick, I agree. Just let the words run in. Your mind is very smart. The subtle minds pick this up. Maybe next life, whatever, I don't know. Maybe now, a few years, months down the road, you constantly refer to these things. Realizations grow. That's what I was told. I'm waiting. The cat's making his appearance. You get out of here now. Don't annoy us. Okay. We'll go through this argument back and forth on 151. What reason, page 151, about a third of the way down the page, what reason does the Master Chandrakirti give for the difference between Madhyamikas and nihilists? He does not say because they have assertions, whereas we do not. He does not say that they assert those are non-existence, where we do not say they are non-existence. Rather, we hold that they are not existence. Instead, he says Madhyamikas propound that karma and such lack intrinsic existence. He says that Madhyamikas cite dependent arising as the reason for the lack of intrinsic existence. He says that Madhyamikas do accept these teachings on karma and such in conventional terms. Notice how they're constantly weaving in as their reason for no inherent existence the idea of dependent arising. That's the key. That's the shortcut. Go over that in your mind. Zero in on that. Dependent and the three types of dependencies. That's the quick way of getting at least a good, solid beginning understanding. We have time for the question? No, we don't. You propose that such karma and effects lack essential or intrinsic existence. These nihilists also assert that such things lack intrinsic existence. How are you different? Again, the answer is there's a very great difference. Bottom of 151. For example, suppose someone who does not know who stole some jewels deceptively state that person committed the robbery. Another person who saw the thief steal the jewels also says that person committed the robbery. The person is the one who committed the robbery. As it happened, they identified the same thief who was actually stolen the jewels. Yet they are not alike, for one spoke deceptively and the other honestly. One guy had a grudge against him. I'll blame him for it. Actually, he was guilty. The other guy saw it. So it's different. We'll leave it at that because it is now. No, we still have to. Madhyamikas and nihilists agree about real things. Again, the objection is, well, Madhyamikas and nihilists, they agree about real things. Reply, even if they agree that real things do not exist, they are still not the same because the way that they know that is different. Like the guy who knew who stole, said, they know it's different. They came to the conclusion properly. 1/3 down, 152. Some persons in understanding the absence of intrinsic existence think that reason refutes such things as karma and its effects. Thus they conclude that cause and effect cannot be posited in their own system. Chandrakirti totally refutes the proposition that such persons, though wrong about the class of appearances, conventionalities, have gained an accurate view of the class of emptiness. Therefore, do not take emptiness to mean empty of the capacity to perform functions. That's the big point here. Instead, you must have a way to posit the dependent arising of cause and effects despite the absence of intrinsic existence. We'll leave it on that. We're almost done with chapter 11. Yay. We're out of bankruptcy. Okay. Of course, we'll pray for Ling and for who else? Let me go through the... Who is the author of what? Admiral Yora. The author of the book I read first is Dalai Lama. The other author is Geshe, but the other author is Tsong-kha-pa. I didn't read Geshe Sopa tonight at all. Tara, I hope that Lori Rankin is doing better. Keep us posted. Pak Bodan, yes, we will pray. Jimmy Carter. No, he didn't pass, did he? No. No, we would pray for his long life. We don't send him off yet. We don't have that power. But yes, Jimmy Carter's a very nice guy, to say the least. A gentleman in many ways. So to the recollection of non-filiation, the three jewels. I prostrate to the omniscient one. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyak, Sang Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strengths cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He's not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats, who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Jnana, they enter completely. They enter insightfully. They enter straightforwardly. They enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So, as a cause, further cause for the quick return of Ratha Chungla Rinpoche, it's only as Dalai Lama recommends we say this prayer for the flourishing of J. Tsong-kha-pa's teachings, and of course it is on our website in the FAQ section. Though he's the father producer of all conquerors, as a conqueror's son, he produced the thought of upholding the conqueror's Dharma in infinite worlds. Through this truth, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. When of yore in the presence of Buddha Indraketu, he made his vow, the conqueror and his offspring praised his powerful courage. Through this truth, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. That the lineage of pure view and conduct might spread, he offered a white crystal rosary to the sage, who gave him a conch and prophesied. Through this truth, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. His pure view free of eternity or destruction, his pure meditation cleansed of dark, fading, and fog, his pure conduct practiced according to the conqueror's orders, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Learned, since he extensively sought out learning, reverent, rightly applying it to himself, good, dedicating all for beings and the doctrine, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Through being sure that all scriptures, definitive and interpretive, were without contradiction, advice for one person's practice, he stopped all misconduct. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Listening to explanation of the three Pitakas, realized teachings, practice of the three trainings, his skilled and accomplished life story is amazing. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Outwardly calmed and subdued by the hearer's conduct, inwardly trusting in the two stages practice, he allied without clash the good paths of Sutra and Tantra. May the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Combining voidness explained as the causal vehicle with great bliss achieved by method, the effect vehicle, heart essence of 80,000 Dharma bundles, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. By the power of the ocean of oath-bound doctrine protectors, like the main guardians of the three beings' paths, the quick-acting Lord Vaishravana Karmayama, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. In short, by the lasting of glorious Gurus' lives, by the earth being full of good, learned, reverent holders of the teaching, and by the increase of power of its patrons, may the conqueror Losang's teachings flourish. Now, 8 verses on training the mind, and Bob advises me that it's still, this one prayer is still not on our website, so we have to correct that. This will be done this week. Whose version this is, I don't know, but this goes back to Rinpoche putting it on in the prayer book. I don't know where he got it, but the other versions I've seen are somewhat similar. But maybe we'll determine which is the best and put it on the website here. So right now we use what we have. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions, I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings, and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others, out of jealousy, treat me badly with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. When the one whom I had benefited with great hope unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone, without exception, all help and happiness, directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. So our next Dharma class will be Monday night, which is what? Let's see. The 6th, I believe. Yes, the 6th, Monday night the 6th. And don't forget His Holiness, that same night, starts his New Year's teachings. The first night, their 7th, our 6th, is the Jataka Tales, and the next 2 nights are the Chakra Samvara or Haruka initiation. The second night of his teaching will be the prep for the initiation. The third night will be the initiation itself. It will be done, if you watch it in real time, you can consider yourself as having taken that initiation. What an opportunity to think about it. So anyway, thank you very much for your patient listening. I know it's a difficult topic, but we got to go through it, at least get exposed to it. So stay grateful we all met the Dharma. Big love. Take care.